You ever spend weeks waiting for something just for it to never happen? I'm not talking about a package or a paycheck. I mean something that touches your soul, a moment that makes you feel seen again. That was me, waiting on a promise from my own son. What I didn't know then was that my 75th birthday would become the beginning of a revenge story I never planned, but deeply needed. I'd been looking forward to my 75th for months, not because I wanted a big party or gifts. No, I've never been that kind of woman. But this year felt different. My son, Russell, said he had something special planned, a family trip. "Just pack your Sunday best, Mama," he'd said back in February. "We'll handle the rest." It was the first time in years someone planned anything for me. I believed him. I wanted to believe him. After Harold passed, I hadn't been to the beach, hadn't gone anywhere besides the grocery store and church. I didn't need much, but the idea of a little sun, a little celebration, it lit something in me. I bought a new suitcase, purple, still had the tag on it, hung it by the door like an invitation. For weeks, I slowly packed. My favorite hibiscus sundress, church sandals, Harold's old handkerchief I kept for comfort. I even curled my hair that morning, put on lipstick, and made a big Sunday-style dinner from scratch. Fried chicken, macaroni, yams, the good china with the gold trim. Russell had said he'd stop by that evening for dinner if the trip got delayed. That was fine, I told myself. Plans change. I set the table for 5. Me, Russell, his wife Naomi, their daughter Lana, and maybe Jeremiah from next door if they brought him a plate. By 5 o'clock, the food was warm and ready. By 6, I started to worry. By 8, the candles melted halfway down. By 9, I sat in silence, staring at the empty plates across from me, my birthday card from the dollar store still standing up by itself. I whispered to no one. Maybe they forgot. But I didn't believe that. I just didn't have the heart to accept the truth. Not yet. I didn't sleep much that night. I blew out the candles, packed up the food, wrapped the sweet potato pie in foil, and placed it gently in the fridge like it still had a purpose. My blue floral dress, Harold always said it made me look younger, hung back on the door, untouched. My purple suitcase still stood by the entryway, perfectly packed, still waiting like I was. The next morning, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at nothing, the silence in my house not peaceful but hollow. I shuffled into the kitchen, made tea I didn't drink, opened the fridge, and looked at food I couldn't eat. Around noon, there was a knock. 3 soft taps. Jeremiah, God bless that boy, stood there holding a bag of lemon dish soap I'd mentioned weeks ago in passing. "Pick this up for you, Miss Elaine," he said with a smile like kindness didn't cost a thing. "Come in, baby," I said, stepping aside. While I wiped the counter just to keep my hands busy, Jeremiah picked up my phone from the table. "You still having trouble with this thing?" he asked. "Always," I said, trying to laugh. He tapped a few times, then suddenly paused. "Miss Elaine, didn't you say your son was planning a birthday trip for you?" I turned slowly. He said it was postponed. "Why?" He hesitated. "I follow your granddaughter on Instagram." I didn't mean to snoop, but he turned the screen around. Right there, on a beach, under a white hotel umbrella, was Russell. Naomi, Lana, all 3 in matching Whitmore family getaway shirts, holding fruity drinks, smiling like they'd won something. Posted last night, on my birthday. I didn't speak. I just stared. Photo after photo. Poolside cocktails. Cigar in my son's hand. My granddaughter flashing a gold bracelet with the caption, "Son, no drama, just joy." No mention of me. Not one. "I thought you knew," Jeremiah said softly. "It's not your fault," I replied, trying to smile. But something inside me cracked. Not loudly. Just like a quiet tear in fabric you've worn for years. Have you ever planned something with all your heart only to be left behind? Tell me in the comments, because I know I'm not alone in this. Back in my kitchen, I whispered, "They left me." And that hurt more than being forgotten, because they chose not to remember. Not even a text, not even a call. They toasted to a new chapter, while I sat at a table with 5 empty chairs and a heart full of ache. The day after my birthday, I woke up to stillness. Not the peaceful kind, the kind that sits in your bones. I stared at the purple suitcase by the door, still packed like it was holding on to hope I no longer had. I moved slow that morning, like my body had forgotten how to move without purpose. I tied my scarf, shuffled to the kitchen, opened the fridge, and looked at the untouched food. The pie, the yams, the fried chicken I seasoned just right. I closed the door again. Couldn't stomach a thing. The dishes from the night before were stacked in the sink. I didn't touch them. Just sat on the couch, wrapped in my old shawl, the one Harold gave me back in '92 when we couldn't afford heat but had each other to keep warm. It still smelled like cedar and lavender. That's when it hit me. It wasn't just that Russell had lied. It wasn't just that they left me behind. It was that they never planned to include me at all. They didn't forget me. They erased me. Silently. The trip, the drinks, the matching shirts. It had never been for me. The celebration wasn't delayed. It just didn't involve me. They toasted under palm trees while I stared at gold-rimmed plates that never got used. I used to think love meant giving, without question. I used to believe sacrifice would be remembered, that patience would be repaid. But as I sat there, watching the clock tick past noon without a single message, I felt something new. Not anger, not yet, but a strange kind of grief. The kind you feel when you realize you've been loving people who only loved what you could provide. That night, Russell came by. No flowers, no cake, just a white paper bag with a single slice of red velvet cake inside, like a leftover apology. I didn't ask where it came from. I didn't need to. He smiled like nothing had happened. "We brought you this," he said, placing the bag on the table. I looked at the cake, then at him. "That what you brought back from Mexico?" His face dropped for a moment. "Oh, so you saw the photos?" I nodded. He chuckled awkwardly. "Wasn't like that, Mama. We didn't think you'd want to travel that far. You get tired easy." I said nothing. Because what do you say when your child tells you to your face that you were never part of the plan? That night, I sat on the porch, listening to the crickets sing me into the kind of sadness that doesn't make noise. I didn't go looking for a fight. I just needed help. A week after the birthday, my lights started flickering. Power bill came in higher than usual. I wasn't broke, not yet. But something felt off. Groceries cost more, my prescriptions had doubled, and the numbers in my checkbook didn't line up with what I remembered. That's when I remembered what Jeremiah had told me, about a woman who volunteered at the senior center, used to be a judge, now helped women like me get a clearer view of their finances. Her name was Cynthia Gray. She showed up the next afternoon, tall, straight-backed, gray twist-out and sharp eyes that didn't miss a thing. She had the kind of presence that made you stand up a little straighter, even if you were just in slippers. "Miss Whitmore," she said, shaking my hand like we were equals, "I hear you're needing some clarity." I nodded and invited her in. "Just a bit of help," I said, embarrassed. I might have let my son handle too much, thought I was being practical. She didn't judge me, not with her words or her eyes. Just opened that canvas tote, pulled out a laptop, and asked, "Would you mind showing me your online banking? Let's take a quick peek." It took me a few tries to remember the password, but once I was in, my heart started to beat a little faster. Withdrawals, transfers, charges labeled consulting as travel package and jewelry, all routed to a second account, Russell's, tens of thousands gone. "That can't be right," I whispered. "He said he was helping me." Cynthia didn't flinch. "He's helping himself. This isn't management, it's theft." I sat back, hands shaking in my lap, but it didn't stop there. "Do you own this home outright?" she asked gently. "I did," I said. "Been paid off for over a decade." "Do you mind if we check the deed?" I didn't even know you could do that online, but she did. And what popped up next knocked the breath right out of me. The name on the title wasn't mine anymore. It was Russell T. Whitmore, filed 10 months ago, digital signature on record, mine, except I never signed anything. I stared at that screen like it had called me out of my own name. Cynthia laid a hand on my wrist. "Miss Elaine, This is what we call power of attorney abuse, forgery, and it's more common than people think. I wanted to scream. I didn't. I just sat there, still, listening to the buzz of the fridge and the sound of myself breathing. He hadn't just used my money. He took my house, the very place I'd rocked him to sleep, the floor I scrubbed on my knees, the porch where Harold kissed me goodbye for the last time. He took it like it was his, but in that silence, something in me shifted. Not rage, not revenge, clarity. And I knew right then, I wasn't asking for anything anymore. I was taking my power back, quietly, completely. I didn't yell. I didn't throw things. I didn't even call Russell. I just moved. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of chamomile tea, staring at the laminate wood Harold laid down himself in '88. The floor hadn't changed, but I had. Something in me had gone still, not cold, not bitter, just done. The next morning, I called Cynthia. "I'm ready," I told her. We started the paperwork that same week. First, we froze all accounts. Then we transferred every asset, my checking, savings, small stock portfolio, into protected control. Russell's name was removed from every authorization. Every single one. We filed a petition to challenge the fraudulent deed. Cynthia knew someone at the courthouse. She said it would take time, but we'd get it back. She also helped me update my will. Not 1 cent was going to Russell now. Instead, I left everything to a foundation that helps older women reclaim their lives after financial abuse. Women like me. You see, I wasn't looking for revenge. I didn't need an apology. What I needed was space to breathe again. Russell texted once, "Mama, my card's not working. Can you check?" I left it unread. The next day, "This is serious. I can't access my business account." Then, "Call me, please." I didn't, because I had already spent years answering every cry, every need, every request that came in the name of family. Even when it cost me pieces of myself, I was done being the backup plan. A week later, he showed up at my door, loud, angry. Naomi was behind him, arms crossed, looking tired in sweatpants and no makeup. "You cut me off," he barked. I didn't answer. I just stepped aside, let him rant, let him talk about betrayal, about everything I've done for you. And when he finally stopped to breathe, I handed him a manila envelope. Inside, the revised will. "What's this?" "My piece," I said. He skimmed the papers. "You're leaving it all to strangers?" "No," I said, soft but firm. "I'm leaving it to women who won't use me like a resource." Naomi sniffled. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe not. "I thought you were fine with it," she whispered. "Russ said—" I raised a hand. I was never fine. I was just quiet. There's a difference. They left soon after. No slammed doors this time. Just silence. That night, I lit the candles I didn't get to light on my birthday. I ate the last slice of sweet potato pie from the freezer. I turned on the old gospel station, and I danced a little, just in my socks, in the middle of the kitchen, where I once stood crying over cold food. I didn't smile. I didn't cry. I just stood tall in the stillness, knowing that I finally belonged to myself again. A year passed. Quieter than the last, but fuller. I didn't wait by the window that spring. I didn't iron a dress for anyone but myself. On my 76th birthday, I booked the small room at the community center, asked for real food, nothing fancy, deviled eggs, fried chicken, lemon-glazed pound cake. Simple, southern, enough to fill a table and warm a heart. I wore a gold dress that caught the afternoon light. It reminded me of joy. Not loud joy, just the kind that settles into your skin and makes you sit up straighter. Jeremiah was the first to arrive, carrying a Bluetooth speaker playing Mahalia Jackson, and a bouquet of sunflowers he said reminded him of me. Then came Cynthia, sharp as ever, with a grin like she already knew I'd bloom again. And one by one, women from the foundation showed up. Some walked slow, some came with grandbabies in tow, but all of them stood tall in their own way. We laughed. We shared stories. We ate too much. We danced, just a little. Then came the softest knock. I turned. It was Lana, my granddaughter. She held a plain birthday card in one hand and wore none of the flash she once flaunted. Just jeans, a hoodie, and eyes full of apology. "Grandma," she whispered, "I didn't know. I really didn't. Daddy said you didn't want to travel. He said you were too tired, but I saw the receipts later. I'm so sorry." She stepped closer. "Can I stay?" I looked at her. My heart tugged, but not in the desperate way it once did. This time it was steady, clear. I walked to the table, grabbed a plate, and handed it to her. "Go ahead, baby," I said. "Get a piece of that pound cake before Miss Cynthia eats it all." She smiled. Not big, just enough. But I didn't hug her. Not yet. Some things have to be earned again. Later, Jeremiah drove me home. The sun was setting soft behind the rooftops. "Is today better than last year?" he asked. I looked out the window, let the breeze kiss my cheek. "It's not better," I said. "It's mine." If this story touched you, if you've ever had to quietly take your life back, tell me in the comments. Your voice matters more than you think. And if no one's told you lately, you still matter. Even if they forgot, you didn't.